side. So first, find your feet under your hips, maybe a little bit wider than your hips for this simple breathing exercise. And find your weight forward and back. Find how you can come up on the balls of your feet and then sink back to the heels. And look for a suppleness in the hips and the knees as you come forward and back. And let's just match your breathing to that. Inhale and exhale. As you inhale, expand your chest, your spine. Come forward on the balls of the feet, and then exhale and just rest back into the heels a little bit. Soft in the knees and the hips. On the exhale, you can feel your chest kind of sink in just a little bit. And on the inhale, it opens up. So a little bit of this kind of motion on your inhale and exhale. On your inhale, feel the distance between your sternum or your xiphoid process and your pelvis so that your belly kind of expands and then comes in again. Open, close. Your diaphragm kind of descends as you inhale, and then as you exhale, it kind of comes back up into its resting place. Just imagine the line of the diaphragm relative to the line of your rib cage, the bottom of your ribs. So inhale and expand your belly, extend your spine, come forward, and then exhale, soften in the chest, the knees, and let the diaphragm come back up into the ribs. All right. So a few things to just think about and pay attention to as we do this simple breathing exercise. Okay, it's time. Inhale and reach. Come up on the balls of your feet. And then exhale and melt. So the knees, the hips, the elbows, the shoulders. As you inhale, reach, extend your spine. Come up on the balls of feet. Feel the ribs open on both sides. And then exhale. Feel the whole sole of your foot connecting to the ground. Heel, the ball of the foot, the toes just heavy and open and connecting to the ground. This time, inhale and raise, reach, and then find that way to exhale even while you're in this position. Inhale, exhale. That's the movement in your torso, your chest, your belly, ribs. But you're still maintaining this position of arms, hands up overhead. You can almost imagine reaching on the inhale, reaching up for somebody, and then they grab hold of your wrist and you can just hang. Let them support you from above on the exhale. Inhale and reach, and And then exhale and hang. All right. It's time, hands in front of your center. Imagine breathing through your fingertips as you inhale, and your hands right up to the crown of your head. Feel that little bit of extension through the spine, that motion of coming forward on the balls of the feet. And then exhale. Imagine pressing clouds down. Your arms are heavy, palms open. Imagine exhaling through the palms of your hands. And return to center. So at this point, the chest is just a little bit caved in. The ribs are dropped. And the pelvis is a little bit retroverted, like the tailbone is coming down and under and forward, just a little bit. Inhale, expand. That pelvis starts to antevert. The weight comes forward on the ball of the foot. The chest starts to open. Hands come up to the top of the head. Hold a moment and then exhale. Sense your heels coming back down to the ground. Heavy, soft arms and shoulders. And then just take a moment to bring your hands in line with the center line of your body. Just a slight pressing together, but not from your arms or shoulders, just from your lower body. Sense your center line. Breathe easily. Okay. Feet under your hips and just bend your knees a little bit and then come up again. Almost like you're getting ready to do that foul shot with the basketball and you're going to jump up into the air. Slow motion, sink in, find the ground under your feet. What's the relationship between feet, knees, hips, and spine? And then feet a little closer together. Cradle your knees and sink. Come down and up. So you're focused on the knees bending. They're going to move from back here, isn't maybe in line with your heel or in from your heel just a little bit. And then as you come forward, they just come no more than the distance of your toes. So basically just shifting from forefoot to heel, forward and back. You can do this tiny bit, just a little bit and back. Find that range of forward and back. And if you don't reach your knees, just touch your body wherever you can. Maybe the thigh, and let your hands slide with it. So your upper body's involved with this lower body motion. If you can easily reach your knees, then cradle them so you really feel the patella and the end of the femur bone here, the bony landmarks of your knee. And then hold the knees together or the thighs together and orient your direction, your intention, your attention over to this kind of 10 o'clock position. So your bottom's going to shift, your torso shifts over, and your knees point over to that 10 o'clock position over there. It roughly correlates with maybe the third or fourth toe. Come back to center. Now imagine this 2 o'clock position, and everything's going to turn to go that direction, just a little bit. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Make sure you come back to zero. Come back to the center. Don't just go from here over to there, right? 10 o'clock, return. 2 o'clock, return. This time you are going to circle the knees in space, but feel all the movement in your ankle, the little joints in your feet. Good connection between the sole of your foot and the ground. In other words, don't let your foot come up. Don't let your toes come up. Sink into the mat and circle the knees to mobilize the joints in the feet and the ankles. Pause and reverse. Return to center. This time, open the knees. Change direction. Now, sink, settle, center, and then a slow motion jump to stand up. All right, this time feet apart, and you're going to change the angle of your feet so that when you bend your knees, your knee goes over your foot. You don't want to be like this or like that. You can change the angle of the foot roughly maybe 30, 45 degrees. Everyone's a little bit different. Now imagine you're going to sit right down. And you can sit down just a little bit. Or if you have the flexibility, you can sit down a bit more. You can play with this distance here. Maybe you want a wider stance to sit down more deeply. But in either case, you don't want your upper body thinking forward, right? Try to avoid a situation like this. Try to keep the torso upright, like your back is sliding down a wall. Imagine maintaining contact, the back of your head and along your shoulder blades. Slide down the wall and then come up. Right? I could use a wall right here. If you have a wall at home, you can find that contact. Your head, your shoulders, and light contact, and slide down the wall. Sense how that is for you. What's the relationship between head, chest, hips? And if you drop the plumb line from your sacrum or your tailbone, where would it drop on the floor? What's that point? What is that point relative to your feet? Just take note. And when you come back up, use your whole foot, including your heel, to press against the ground. Make use of those ground forces. All right, so now look for that feeling even without a wall. What is the position? Not too far back like this, not like this. What's the position of your pelvis? Try to make it sort of neutral to slightly anteverted here. Now, as you sink down, can you find a a softness in your chest, an openness? Is it relaxed in your shoulders? You've got to use your legs. Your leg muscles are working. Can the lower body, the power of the lower body, support the upper body enough that this can stay really supple? You can match this movement to your breath. You might want to exhale as you go down, inhale as you come up, or you could reverse that. Try inhaling as you go down and exhaling as you come up. If you were going to pick something up, like a big cauldron of soup, you'd inhale, get under it, and then exhale to lift. Get under that bowl. All right. This time, imagine drawing something down. Inhale, exhale. Or inhale first and then exhale to pull something down. Exhaling as you sink. Back to the other way now. Inhale as you sink and exhale as you rise. You can use your imagination. Pick something up. Imagine it's heavy. You got to get under it. Find your breath and exhale as you exert or come up, as you lift. And the other way. If you're accustomed to suburi, then, there's a particular breathing pattern you're used to. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and raise, exhale to cut. But just as a breathing exercise, it can be really useful to mix it up. Notice how you breathe and then change your breathing pattern. All right. So to come down to the ground, last week we did a lot of kind of lunge type positions. This time, come down to the ground a little different way. Find this angle of your feet and a certain distance of your feet so that you can crouch. And you keep the head high above the pelvis, but you won't be able to keep it completely straight. As you come down, your pelvis will go back a little bit. Just keep your weight over your feet. Notice something has to go forward, something has to go back. I'm fine this way, but then there's a point when pelvis is going to have to go back and the head comes forward a little bit. Right? If my head goes too far forward, I could lose my balance. So you want to regulate these two weights so that you stay even over your feet. And just notice for you, when is the point when your heels leave the ground? It might be a little bit different for different people and different on different days. Does your knee come over your foot? And then from here, are you balanced? Are there little movements you're making forward and back to maintain your balance? There's something happening in your foot, your ankle to maintain this position. And if you're comfortable, bring this knee to touch the ground. And then reverse. How do you draw that thigh into your hip and return to be on your feet again? What about the other knee? Is it different on this side? How much weight do you put into this foot as you come back? How much weight does this foot manage as you come back? And then from here, let the other knee join and seiza for a moment. So from the back, I'm going to bring one knee down. I have a lot of flexion going on here, weight over the ball of the foot. This knee follows, and then the feet are going to soften, toes come together, and sit. See if you can restore that sense of head over pelvis and the back flat against the wall. So not too much here, but sit back into it. I just acknowledge this can be really challenging for people if you've never done this before. It's new. There's a lot of flexion in the knee. The foot gets flattened out. When I started, it was very difficult to just hold this position. But these are ways that you can work into more comfort in sitting in seiza. 2 fists apart, traditional. Feel the difference if your knees are together. It gives you a certain kind of support, but also a certain kind of work in the system. If your knees are a little further apart. What happens if you take them way apart? What do you feel now? Your knee, your hip, your foot. And then try to find that comfortable position somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 fists apart. All right, from here, slide your bottom a little bit over your heels. And if they're not in contact with your heels, for some of you might not be in contact with your heels, then just sense where they are over your heels. Even if they're here, a little bit this way, a little bit that way. If you're sitting, then feel that contact. And now feel that contact slide and just have a seat over to the side. You can use your hand to support as you come into this position I call picnic position. So I have some weight on this sit bone. I have a little weight in this hand. This elbow is in the neighborhood of the knee. Depending on your proportions, it might be right on your knee or it might be on the forearm. The contact might be on the forearm, somewhere here. And let the knee just kind of wobble in and out. And the next time you wobble out, go ahead and shift over to the other side. Find your picnic position on this side. Just like you're sitting on the grass ready to have a picnic. A little bit of weight in this hand here. More of a weight here, but no weight here. And find this movement in your hip joint. How does that relate to your ribs and your chest? I look over past my right knee, then I look over this knee. My eyes are going to move with the knee, this knee, that knee. So if I wanted to get up, I might head over this way. Now I'm going to change my vision, cross the center line, come over to this side, and come up over this knee. From sitting to kneeling, and the foot. Find those toes. Where is the foot relative to your knee? Is it inside your knee? Is it outside your knee? Is it lined up right behind your knee? And then when you go to sit, soften those toes so that you can roll over the knee. Sit. So there's a lot you can explore in slow motion between the relationship of head, pelvis, knee, eyes, intention. Where's that center line? When do you cross over to the left side? If this is very easy for you to do, you can work on making it a little quicker and even aerobic. No stopping point, just transitioning from one sit bone to the other. Make sure your eyes and your intention are aligned relative to your body motion. Sometimes people lag, they leave their eyes here. Even as they cross their center line, the eyes are late, and then the whole system kind of wobbles. It's not quite as dynamically stable. And for some people, you could then work with not really touching the ground or touching very lightly, and work a little bit more with the core and how you come up over your leg without ever touching with your hands. All right. Well, the next time you come down, just have a seat. From picnic position, I'm just extending this leg. And then bringing my weight into both sit bones. You feel when you're on one sit bone or the other. Sense the connection between your pelvis and the ground and how that supports you. Change out. You might feel different on the left or right side. My weight mostly on the right sit bone is mostly on the left sit bone. What if both legs are extended? Is it equal? Do you feel a little more weight on one or the other? Would you be able to get up from this position? What is it like to bring your torso over this knee? Sit tall, turn to align your sternum with the knee. Extend this leg, stretch. This time, just wobble your knees. Feet. A little bit to the left, the right. Sense how your whole leg rolls a little bit as you move your feet left and right. Can you feel any movement in your hips? Circles. Press with one and come back with the other. You could think of pressing the accelerator and let out the clutch. Then press the clutch and let out on the accelerator. Or if you've never driven manual, then don't worry about it. Just press with the right foot and notice how the left foot, the left leg is almost retracted a little bit. Then press through the left and let the right come back. Now you can walk your sit bones back like walking a ladder. Take the right back, take the left back. Your weight to the left and the right back. And then come forward, press with the left, and walk your pelvis forward. All right, put a little weight in your hands and draw your leg up just as loosely and languidly as you can. Can you actually use your upper body, your spine, your shoulders to draw that foot up and then send it back? How can you use your upper body, your spine? to bring your leg up, take it back. All right. Now, still touching here, this time let your legs, your lower body drive the motion. So now I'm trying to keep my upper body basically still and bring the leg up. And then alternate. Upper body does the work. Or the lower body does the work. All right, let's bring both feet up and just wobble the knees left and right. Sense the contact along your bottom, your pelvis, rolling to one side and the other. When I'm on this side, how do the ribs feel? My left ribs are a little more closed and my right ribs are a little more open. When I bring my knees to the left, the opposite, the left knee ribs kind of open up and the right ribs close down. Feel the movement in your ribs. And use that motion to come up to sitting. Okay. Grab your foot. I want to do a little bit more close-up work with the foot. See if you can reach your foot easily. How do you come down to your foot? What do you do in your upper body and your hips? Be able to do that. And is it easier if this leg's extended or is it easier for you if they're together? Doesn't matter. Just come down to your right foot and see if you can put your fingers in between your toes. Is that easy? You may find there's some toes that are easily come apart. Hopefully your feet and your hands are clean for this whole exercise. And once you've got hold of your foot, then wiggle it around a little bit. Can you circle it? Can you feel the movement in these little bones of your foot? How about the ankle? And then you can take your fingers out for a moment and bring your toes forward and back. Smooth. And then bend them. And feel the difference in the sole of your foot. Right? That plantar tissue really stretches out or it curls and you can kind of see the arch of your foot. Now, use your left hand to grab all four, not only the toes, but the metatarsals, those bones that connect between your toes and the back part of your foot here. These bones. If you think of these as your toes, these are your metacarpals in your hand. So grab your metatarsals in your foot. So I've got all four in my left. And then I'm going to grab just the big metatarsal, first metatarsal associated with the big toe in the right. And I'm going to make a little motion like this. Get a little movement in between the first metatarsal and the second. Now I'm going to come down and grab 1 and 2 with the right hand, first and second. The left hand grabs 3, 4, and 5. So here's 1 piggy, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to grab 1 and 2, and then the left hand grabs 3, 4, 5. See if you can create a little movement between the second and third metatarsal. It's perfectly normal if you feel a lot less movement between these two than you did here. And then change it out. My right hand is going to grab 1, 2, and 3, and the left hand has 4 and 5. And see what kind of movement you can find between those bones. And now my left hand is going to grab just the 5th, that wing-like bone at the end. My right hand has 1, 2, 3, and 4. See if you can find a little movement, a little brushing movement between those bones. And then take an opportunity to just press your thumbs into the sole of your foot. You may feel those bones. Oh yeah, there's the 5th and 4th. Oh, I can feel clearly the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Well, they kind of disappear for me. Can't really feel the difference when I get up into the foot here, but maybe you can. Now grab the whole foot and just rotate. So the ankle is really well mobilized now. Here. All right. Now I'm going to pull each toe. Here's my little toe. I want to hold the foot so that it's just that joint where the toe comes into the foot. That's what we're going to try to almost pull apart a little bit, very gently. Pull that toe as if you're going to pop a cork. The toe is a cork, the foot is the bottle, and you're going to just take it out. And then the 4th toe. Sometimes called uncorking the toes. Uncorking the foot or pulling the cork. Each toe. All right, now this little movement I call safe cracking. I'm going to turn each toe like you're turning a little radio dial. So I've got this piggy toe and I'm rotating it as if that's a screw top to the foot, and I'm turning the toe like a little lid. Now turn on the big toe here. I'm going to rotate it like you're unscrewing the top of a tiny little jar. Be gentle with yourself. Each toe. Sometimes I call it safe cracking because you can really bring your attention down to the details of how that feels. You may feel tiny little movements in there, tiny little releases, each toe. All right. One more time. Let's take all the toes and press them back. Shake it out. How does that right foot feel compared to the left foot? I started with my right, but the foot you just worked on compared to the other foot, you feel a difference? Did you play piano with these toes? All right, so we'll go through the other side a little bit more quickly. See how much you can remember of what we did. So I can slide the foot away from me and toward me, or I can stick the foot and slide my bottom toward the foot. Stick the foot and push the ground away so that my bottom goes back. You can try it with or without that leg under you. This way, this way. If you're on a carpet, this might be difficult, but if you're on a smooth floor, you can try it. Feel that traction that's available in your foot. Draw yourself toward or push through the foot to take your bottom back. And then use that motion to come forward. This time I'm going to put my foot underneath me because I'm going to come forward and push through and find that flexion through the foot. The toes are well bent and I'm sitting on the heel. And then I'm going to retract that whole motion back. How does the knee track over the foot? You can use your hands to very carefully bring that knee down, track that the knee comes over the foot and down to the ground. As it gets colder, you can really hurt yourself if you don't take time to really warm up all of these movements, all of these little joints. And as I do that, I can feel the movement through the bottom of my foot, the ankle, little movements in the toe, in the bones of the foot. I bring the knee down. And you can see there's a strong flexion here. And as I go back, you can use your hands. So you really regulate how much stress you're putting on your joints here. You don't have to put a lot of stress on them. One foot and the other. So for some people, it's easy enough to go from this position. You can go from here to here, and then use that feeling to come up and over and put the knee down. Reverse, wobble over to the other side, come up and over to put the knee down. And if this is a familiar and comfortable pattern, you could speed it up and actually make it a little bit more aerobic. For those of you familiar with rolling, you can put a little roll in the middle, roll back, roll forward, find that foot. Plant the foot in the ground and roll up and over that point of traction. As a bit of a shikko exercise, you can sit back onto those feet now. Bring one knee up, and then pivot on this knee. Bring the foot with you, round in a circle. If I want to go to my right, I could start with the upright left foot and follow up with the back right foot. Front foot, right foot, front foot, back foot, front foot, back foot. Or I could lead with the back foot and follow up with the front foot. Back foot, back foot, then front foot, back foot, then front foot. And you can do the whole pattern in reverse. I'm going to move to my left. I can move the back foot out and follow up with the front foot to come around. Back foot, then front foot, back foot, then front foot. To keep that motion going, but actually lead with the front foot, follow up with the back. Front foot, then back foot. Front, then back. Front, then back. Front, then back. All pivoting on this knee. You've got to find a certain axis of rotation. Imagine a cylinder here that goes from your knee up through your hip and through your body. And I like to think of my eye, if I can get further back enough, I think of incorporating my eye into that pattern. So the right eye over the right hip, over the right knee, and that creates a certain axis in my imagination, and turn around that axis. If I move to the left, I'm going to plant the left knee and bring the right foot up. And now I have a new axis of rotation. Pivoting on the left knee, I want the hip positioned over that knee, well, not too far out or in, not too far forward or back, but just over the knee. And I'm thinking about how to incorporate my left eye, the left half of my head, into that pattern so that I can maintain a certain dynamic stability as I rotate. Forward, back, front foot, then back foot, then front foot. Go back this way, back foot, then front foot, or front foot followed by back foot. So in our suwari waza motions, it's so common that you need to shift your weight, say, into the left knee so that you can swing this right leg back. Thinking about, for those of you familiar with Hani Handachi Kaitanage, there's a moment where you bring your partner down and you've really got to get some distance here before you send them forward. There's a moment where you pivot on that knee, you bring this leg up, and you want to create some distance here. So you can experiment with that. Let's see, maybe I'll bring the camera up just a little bit. I guess I'll just show it this way. So if I imagine, those of you who know what I'm talking about, Hamni Handachi, my partner standing, I'm sitting, they grab Katatadori Gyaku Hamni. I've got to pivot clearly on that left knee so that I can come out. I'm imagining Uchi Kaiten here, coming underneath. Now I've got to go back foot. Here, I've got to be able to pivot on this left knee and swing that right leg back. And I'll just move the whole pattern up here. And now I want to get some distance, so I'm really going to extend to bring myself back. I could make it little, but I could also really take some distance here. So as you work on your feet and your knees, if you're familiar with suwari waza and hamni handachi techniques in Aikido, use your imagination to bring that kind of functionality, real situation into play, and look at how stable and mobile are you over your knees and feet. And if you don't do Aikido, this little sequence of feet, ankles, working with your hips and your knees, it's just very functional for being able to get up and down off the floor very easily. And again, as we get into cold weather, so important to keep your feet warm, alive, moving, and a certain amount of differentiation among the toes. All right. Well, for the last couple minutes, let's do a little bit of bokken work. Let's start off with that suburi, basic horse stance suburi. Now with these new and improved feet that you have, this relationship of foot, knee, and hip, sink down, find your knee over your foot. To what extent can your foot really sink in and make good use of the ground? Inhale and raise, exhale and cut. And sense your feet, your connection to the ground. How about the breathing pattern? Inhale, exhale. Does the weight change over your feet? Or does it feel solid, soft and heavy, solid, good traction and connection from the toes, the ball of the foot, through the foot to the heel? Take a moment and see, is there any little adjustment you want to do in the position of your foot? Foot, knee, hip, is everything dialed in, sinking well? Often in class, we just find a position and then you have to stick with it for, what, 100, maybe 500 suburi? But in your solo practice, it can be helpful to stop periodically, just change your position, because your nervous system will make little changes and you'll find yourself in a slightly different position. Maybe just do a set of 10 or 20. Make a change. That way you can come into the position fresh. Okay, so we'll finish for today. Big focus on the feet and lower body, but as you work with your lower body, notice how it makes a big difference in your weapons work. Take some time to really warm up and work with your feet, legs, hips, how you use your spine, making sure the torso is well supported by your lower body, your core, and then you'll start to find a suppleness come out in your weapons work. Okay, let's finish today. Thank you very much. どうもありがとうございました。